Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, the box. I think I am friends with a serial killer. I was but 13 years old when this started. I was full of angst during that time, especially during the 6th grade in particular. I was arrogant, a braggart, someone who thought they knew everything and would look down upon others that weren't of the same intellect. Due to this, I was also an outcast. I sat alone at lunch. I didn't have a single friend, except for one kid, Michael. Michael, or Mike, was someone that was a grade ahead of me, yet, he took the same classes I did because I was taking classes ahead of my grade level. He was also a social outcast like myself back then, except his was due to his strange habits. He carried around this weird box everywhere he went. It was also tucked underneath his arm, seemingly cleaned and polished religiously because I never saw a hint of grime or dust upon it ever. I'm not going to lie, I befriended him at first only to satiate my curiosity for this strange behavior. Oddly enough, the teachers and other custodians never made a fuss about Mike's box. Hell, he was also excused from physical activities as well. Despite my intentions, I ended up befriending him due to his nerdy nature. He was the one to introduce me to things like comic books and anime, things that drew me in due to my own preference for nerdy things. It wasn't until the last week of school that I actually got to see what was in that box. Mike had grown to trust me, perhaps too much. He had asked me to hold it for him so he could go to the nurse for medication, something to deal with allergies. I tried my hardest to resist the temptation. Mike never told me directly that I should never open it, but he was protective of it and its content, always clutching it close and never allowing anyone a peek. However, as the minutes rolled by, I couldn't help but allow my curiosity to guide my actions. I released the latch that kept the glossy, black case open, slowly pulling the lid open. It was full of pictures. There were a few dozen of them neatly stacked within. The odd thing about it, though, is that every last one depicted a student of the school, with the occasional faculty member as well. And not only that, but every last one had an X crossing out the person's eyes. I ended up looking at every last one, trying to piece together what it meant. It wasn't until I got to a picture of the gym teacher that my heart skipped a beat. My body felt numbingly cold as I looked closer at the photo. You see, at the beginning of the year, we actually had a different gym teacher than the one we had now. They had been super kind, with a passion for teaching and keeping the students active and fit. Halfway through the year, Mike had left the box in the class and had went back to get it. He was particularly upset that day, because despite his excuse to not participate in the physical activities, the teacher always tried to include him. I remembered that day with ease, because that had been the first time I had seen my friend without his precious box. After that day, we had gotten a new teacher to fill in the position. The previous teacher had apparently quit, at least that's what the principal had told us anyways. With that in mind, I looked back at the previous photos. One was a kid that had bullied Mike a lot in the early years. Both he and I celebrated when he apparently moved to a different school. Another one was a girl that Mike had liked, yet had been dumped by. That was the pattern amongst all of the pictures. They were all of people that had seemingly offended Mike in the past. What was going on? I couldn't place it. So, I ended up putting the photos back in order and shutting the box back, all while putting it on my desk as far away from me as possible. My mind had raced as I tried to come up a conclusion with the information I gathered. What was going on? Each person that had seemingly made Mike upset always ended up leaving the school soon after. That is when the intercoms of the school turned on, with the vice principal addressing everyone. All students and faculty, we will be having a meeting in the gymnasium. Teachers, escort your class to the bleachers. I repeat, all students and faculty, we will be having a meeting in the gymnasium. Teachers, escort your class to the bleachers. I had brought the box with me, albeit while making sure to lightly grasp it. For some reason, after seeing its contents, I felt sick to my stomach. I knew that something was amiss about the circumstances, yet I tried my best to ignore it and the obvious conclusion that Mike had somehow gotten rid of those who slighted him. As the classes slowly funneled into the gym, Mike came up to me through the crowd. I had nervously given him back his box, all while avoiding eye contact and feeling a cold chill going down my spine. This was becoming too much. I just wanted to go home at this point. After we all sat down, the principal arrived and stood in the middle of the court, his face downcast. I was in a top row so couldn't see his face exactly, yet as he picked up the mic, no one could miss the sniffles and heaving sobs that were escaping his mouth. Students and faculty, the principal spoke out, with tears streaming down his face. It is with great reluctance that I inform you that today, one of our longest working faculty members, Mr. Henderson, has passed away. You may know that he had been absent for a week from a cold. I am here to say that he had a heart attack last night. Every single student in the bleachers was deathly silent. They were frozen in shock, in sorrow. It was different for me, however. I was instead frozen with trepidation. Hadn't Mr. Henderson been a part of the photos in Mike's box? I craned my neck to the side to catch Mike's eye, afraid of what I'd see. He was staring at me. And he was smiling. He knew what I was thinking. To be continued?